All right, let's try that again. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Championship Thursday here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez for the Mexican Grand Prix here in Midwest F1 Division 2. 17 corners make up this 4.3-kilometer circuit, 3 DRS zones, an endless possibility of chaos should make for an exciting Grand Prix, and boy, have we got a hot one here tonight. We have a 25-point battle for the lead of the drivers' standings between Race Day 2016 and Dusty Lusky in the McLaren. We also have a hotly contested Constructors' Championship fight as well, between that of Aston Martin, including Nicky 64 and Lightwork, as well as Adaltonian and CPI T-Brum in the Mercedes. We have drivers on outlaps. I've only just joined the session now. I had a critical error just moments ago, but it looks like we do have the Mercedes of CPI T-Brum, who's actually filling in for Easy Rider Yoe, who's up in Division 1 tonight, and actually his Division 1 points will not count towards the Division 2 standings, but CPI is looking to do everything he can to ensure that Mercedes get themselves a Constructors' Championship here tonight. We're going to go along with CPI T-Brum now as he starts his flying lap. So at the moment, the driver standings, the Constructors' standings rather, have Aston Martin's 14.55 to Mercedes 13.56, so a 99-point difference. As you can see, CPI T-Brum going into the first corner, and then through the second. It's a neat little combination of corners, this, and it's very tricky. As you can see, he has just invalidated his time already. Behind him, we have the Alfa Romeo of Helgeland, who now goes through the, I would say, first DRS zone on track, heading into this 90-degree left-hand corner of turn number, turn number 4, and then immediately turn 5 after. You have to watch out for track limits there, into this double apexed right-hander of turn... Well, it is just turn 6, that's all it is. It's really 2 corners, but in 1. Through now this winding rest of Sector 2, turns 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and 11. You have to be careful of the oversteer here. It's a flat track with many winding, goes left and right. So it is quite tricky to get correctly in towards now the stadium section of turn 12 and up into turn 13. As you can see, this is one of the more beautiful corners in Formula 1, as we do have the Ferrari of Hightower, who is DNF'd going into that double apex right-hander of turn number 6. Out of the final corner now comes Helgeland. What kinds of speeds is he pulling as he gets to the line? And it's a 1:17.182. That's actually a pretty solid lap, followed up now by the AlphaTauri of CPI Optic, who is starting a time lap. Shariah Coleslaw has gone third at this point, 17.389, and he gets pushed farther down the order, as look at that, right then and there, 2 Drivers' Championship leaders within 2.5 tenths of each other. Race Day 2016, a 1:16.421, and Dusty Lusky about 2.5 tenths off of that. Absolutely brilliant battle it has been all season. So Race Day 2016, battling with Dusty Lusky, remember? It is as much as a 25-point gap between these two at the top of the table. Now, usually, I wouldn't necessarily care about the qualifying session. However, points are on the line, naturally, for pole position, and when you have 2 championship battles as close as this, you have to really pay attention. Now, not only that, but as we go along with the Ferrari of Shariah Coleslaw, who I believe might be coming around on the lap now, it's hard to tell. No, he's not. 3.5 seconds slower. Not only that, but he is in a battle with NFS Lightwork, the second Aston Martin driver, who will go along with now with CPI Optic setting the fastest lap of 1:15.991. In the secondary, AlphaTauri filling in this week, I believe. He is absolutely paced the AlphaTauri onto the front row of the grid, who, by the way, has put 4.5 tenths between himself and his championship-leading teammate, who now resides in second with the McLaren in behind. But as I was about to say, with Shariah Coleslaw in the Ferrari, he does have the capability to get into the final promotion spot heading into Division 1 next season. The battle between himself and Lightwork for that third spot, 7:09 to Shariah's 6:68. So it's a lot of work. However, it is certainly possible, and I tell you what, it might just be a very interesting story should Shariah Coleslaw overcome the odds and get himself into Division 1 next season. But at the moment, it's Race Day 2016 making his way into Sector 2 now. He's 2/10 faster through his previous attempt. Dusty Lusky went to the line as well. I didn't quite get a chance to see his numbers on that, but I'm assuming quite similar. It's Purple Sector 1 for Race Day 2016, exiting turn number 6 now. And what has he done as he heads into the rest of the very tricky Sector 2? As you can see, a big wiggle just then, and that's probably thrown off his time just a little bit. Well, actually quite a lot of it, really. Holding it nicely, but he has invalidated, and that will spell the end of his attempt as well as Dusty Lusky. So, one step, both of them going back to square one now. They'll have to come into the pits, put on a new set of tires, refuel, and get back out there on track, as they really, whichever one of them has claim to the pole position point, that will definitely come into play in the race. Not to mention that, but also the fastest lap up for grabs, as you'd expect as well. NFS Gaba in the Haas, he's on low fuel. Soy Loco behind. We've got the McLaren of Super. He's gone off then. And that right there, that is going out of turn number 4 in towards 5. And I wonder what he's done there. As you can see, the McLaren having their special Singapore and Japanese Grand Prix livery. I do like the little pink accents on them, I must say. It is quite nice. I actually kind of appreciate it. It looks better than the blue. Oh, when he spun it around again, I'm afraid. So, next up we do have Shariah Coleslaw on his outlap. Remember, as we were just talking about, going into the fight for the final promotion spot. He's down just a little bit, but I've seen stranger things happen, that part is for sure. We also have the Mercedes of Adaltonian. How much of a factor is he going to play in today's battle for the Constructors' Championship? Remember, I believe the most you can get is somewhere around 156, something like that. I should know that off the top of my head, but I don't. Currently, a 99-point gap between the teams. It is definitely possible that one team has a great day and the other team doesn't. This track is certainly one of the tracks that can produce something spectacular like that. We have Dusty on the outlap as well. We do. Adaltonian to the line now. DRS activated. Let's see what kind of speeds he's getting up to here. I'd say upwards of 335 kilometers an hour heading into the first corner. 337, we'll call it, getting in there. Which, if I'm corrected, that's around 205 miles an hour. Let me double check that. 209, yeah, so it's quite close. DRS activated there for the Mercedes. He's about 2/10 faster through his first attempt on the circuit. Let's see what he's got as he looks to complete the rest of this lap in good fashion here into the double apex right-hander of turn number 6. Back on the throttle he goes. Let's see how he handles the rest of Sector 2. This one has definitely faced some difficulty. CPI T-Brum, and look at that. The teammate in reserve role for Easy Rider Yoe today has just gone provisional pole over not just CPI Optic, but the entirety of the AlphaTauri team. That pushes Race Day 2016 down to 3rd, and with Dusty Lusky coming to the line now to start a timed lap, that one could prove very interesting there, as Race Day at this moment in time heading into the first corner does have Dusty Lusky, I'd say about 2.5 seconds behind him, and that one could be very interesting. That Dusty Lusky really monkey see, monkey do, as it turns out, and we're going to see now who has the better lap time so far. Race Day 2016 heading into turn number 4, about a 10th faster, I'd say, on his previous attempt, and we just missed again, Dusty Lusky, so we'll have to assume Dusty Lusky right on it, as well as Houdini has DNF'd there. And we also have, that is the Aston Martin Nicky 64, who I believe has spun out Houdini. It looks has done it in the pits, thankfully for him. Adaltonian managed to go P7, about 1.5 seconds off the pace, but the real story again, between Race Day 2016, who has invalidated, Dusty Lusky, who has not. And now, heading in towards, oh, look at this, that almost got a little bit destructive then. As the AlphaTauri was a little bit slow getting in towards turn 12, trying to get out of the way. Dusty Lusky now heads past into the final corner, turn number 16 and eventually 17. Across the line he goes. What kind of times is he pulling? He does improve by about 1/10.5, but it's not enough to get past Race Day, who Race Day, by the way, it looks like might be starting another time lap here. I wouldn't say so. He's actually backed off the throttle a decent bit. He's only got about half of his battery life, so perhaps we're going to have to wait until next time around. Thankfully for him, he invalidated only about halfway through Sector 2, so he might still have some life left on the soft tires, which, by the way, a tire we probably won't see during the race. So that, I gotta say, is quite interesting as far as that goes. Shirai Coleslaw on his way into the pits. He can't improve anymore. We have the Williams of Sui now going in towards Sector 3. Currently 0.5 of a second faster than his previous attempt, a little bit wide through the apex of turn 12 into the stadium section now of 13, 14, and 15. Let's see what he's got so far as he makes his way towards the final, I'd say, well, it's really one corner, the map says two, final 2 corners of the circuit, and he only is able to improve to 9th, about 0.8 faster than his previous attempt. That still leaves him 2.5 seconds to the leader of CPI T-Brum there. Next up looks to be, is this the AlphaTauri of Race Day? This is the lap that everybody's been waiting to see so far, as he now makes his way into turn 16 and 17. What does Race Day 2016 have? Does he have anything to perhaps get himself on the provisional pole and create a nice, comfortable gap between himself and main championship rival Dusty Lusky heading into the first corner? It looks as if... Well, let's see here. Yeah, I'd say he's about 3 kilometers an hour slower. Although, I mean, that's not really a lot. But let's look at Dusty Lusky now, who he himself starting a timed lap. As he hits the braking zone, yeah, he's about there as well. About 3-4 kilometers an hour off the pace. Now, Dusty Lusky, one of the drivers that I know of, that really does his way of sacrificing cornering ability for straight line speed. Sometimes Dusty Lusky and that McLaren, those are the fastest times, fastest speeds that you would see the entire race weekend, and unfortunately it seems like he's just a little bit off the pace right now in both aspects, not just straight line speed, but cornering ability as well. As Race Day 2016 now heads into the stadium section, what does he have? He's got the Aston Martin of, I believe that's, well, both Aston Martins are in front of him. I'm going to go ahead and assume that is Nicky 64. Race Day heading out of the final corner now. Oh, and he must not have liked his lap because he has pulled off, and that was a little bit unexpected. He looked to be on a good one there, and Dusty Lusky, he will be coming in as well, most likely, because he, for I believe this is the 3rd time lap attempt in a row now, he has invalidated, exceeded track limits. So, quite interesting stuff going on here. We've got the Mercedes of Adel Tonian heading into the first corner now. This is, I believe, who we saw the high speeds from. 337 kilometers an hour, just under 210 miles an hour, as he heads into the first couple of corners. I will say it's a delicate balance to get right, because naturally there's a lot of straight line speed, a lot of straight lines coming into play here at the Mexican circuit, but the corners that are on this track are super technical and demand really the most of the drivers, especially going through Sector 2. So, I think, honestly, had Adel Tonian perhaps put aside some of that straight line speed, put it into the cornering ability, he may have had a car perhaps for pole, because he looks to be absolutely flying. Now going through that unbelievably tricky right-hander there of turn 10 and turn 11. He's going to be hitting the timing line now. He's only about 3/100ths faster than his previous attempt. That won't be enough to have him leap above Helgeland and currently P6. Let's see. He's gonna have to complete his lap. It is the better time after all. To the line he goes, and he does improve by just under 1/10.5. But again, it's not enough to leapfrog him over the Alfa Romeo of Helgeland. Speaking on a time lap, it looks like. What's going on here? Shirai Coleslaw making his way through Sector 2 now. Shirai making his way now through the stadium section underneath what I believe was formerly a baseball stadium. It might actually still be. I'm not quite sure. And he heads into the pits. God, I hate when they do that. I thought I was pretty good at, like, understanding that sort of thing. Capital 58 has invalidated his previous attempt, so that won't matter. Race Day 2016, however, I believe... No, he'll be staying out. Okay, Race Day 2016 suddenly on a flying lap here. He's come out from the pits. He's got 2 minutes left in the session, and he's absolutely flying it down the straight here, heading into the first corner. He also has, that is the Aston Martin of Nicky 64 coming out on track as well, and right behind, wouldn't you know it, Dusty Lusky coming through as well. Race Day 2016, winding his way through the first couple of corners. What kind of times is he pulling as he heads into Sector 2? Let's see what he's got at the moment. He's about 2.5 tenths faster. Dusty Lusky, for that matter, only starting his attempt now. But it is a purple Sector 1 from Race Day. 0.238 faster through Sector 1 so far. We are watching him as well as Dusty Lusky, who now making his way through the first couple of corners and coming up to the Sector 1 timing line now. Let's see what he's got as he reaches it. And he's about 3/100 slower, as a matter of fact. Race Day through Sector 2, just under 3/10 faster, so it looks like Dusty Lusky might be on the back foot here, entering the final minute of the qualifying session. As Race Day 2016 coming around the final couple corners now, does he hold onto the throttle nicely? Oh, that's a big wiggle then. He cuts to the inside of the circuit. He does improve by over 0.4 of a second, but it's not enough to get him out of the second row. Dusty Lusky through Sector 2 is about 1.5 tenths faster, although it doesn't quite seem like it's going to be enough to escape the second row either. It is purple Sector 2, and he invalidates again. I believe that's now 4 different lap attempts in a row that he has invalidated, and now as he comes to the line to start another one, I mean, that is absolutely crushing there from the McLaren driver, who, look at him, he's down to his last 10% on the energy store, but he knows he has to give it this one last attempt as his tires are still relatively fresh, and he has only this lap to complete and perhaps escape the second row, although I gotta say, the odds are really quite stacked against him. Shariah Coleslaw's done all he can do. He can stay 5th. It looks like next to the line, CPI Optic, who is coming in, did not get the attempt on his final lap. Neither did Race Day. To the line next, I believe Helgelin, he was there just late as well. Dusty Lusky is slow, who has invalidated again. And so, I have to say, that one there pretty much locks it up for CPI Tebrum, who I believe that was one of the only lap attempts that he made. Put himself on provisional pole, and what is looking to be an actual pole position here for the Mercedes, and that is probably best case scenario for them, who is teammate of Adel Tonian, starting in a respectable 7th place. And it has not been the ideal day for Aston Martin, because light work has invalidated as well, and he will not be able to put in a timed lap attempt good enough. He won't be able to put one in at all, and he will be starting at least P15 there without a time set. So it is the Mercedes CPI Tebrum on pole. Wow, wow, wow. The man who comes up in reserves might just prove to be a savior for his team. Unbelievable stuff here. That is crazy. So, your starting grid then for the Mexican Grand Prix. CPI Tebrum on pole in the Mercedes CPI Optic 2nd. Race Day 3rd, Dusty Lusky 4th, Shariah 5th, Helgelin 6th, Adel Tonian 7th, Nicky 64 8th, 9th is Soy Loco, 10th Sweet, 11th Super, and 12th is NFS Gabagai, and the rest of the grid, all the way down to P17, did not get the ability to set a timed lap. And so, after a very interesting qualifying session, that may just line things up for what is to be a historic Mexican Grand Prix here. So we have 25 seconds now until our formation lap begins here. And I tell you what, I haven't been excited for a season finale like this in a long time. It's honestly, I am so ready for this Grand Prix. 10 seconds to go before the formation lap. I am actually, this is incredible. Again, so many things can go either right or wrong for so many drivers here. It really is. I know that the numbers might say differently, but each and every one of the titles is up for grabs here. And each and every one of Midwest F1 broadcasts is brought to you by Epos Audio, Raze Energy, and Sim Racer Coin. CPI T-Brum leading the field on the formation lap here. So, quite interesting this. I am very intrigued to see the decision to go onto the soft tires for both Shariah Coleslaw and Nikki 64. The soft tires will only last between 7 and 11 laps. The mediums from 17 to 22, that's probably the more reasonable tire to start on, and the hards from 20 to 30 roughly. It's a big gap knowing that you could really go anywhere with the tire. So it looks like the majority of the field actually on the hard tires, which that is what the game tells you to do. When you load into a single-player Grand Prix, the game tells you start on the hards, go to the mediums for the second stint. And it looks like that may just be the case. But again, another interesting one here. Both Race Day and Dusty Lusky have chosen the mediums. It's not going to be any sort of differential between the pace on these two drivers. It's going to be an absolute dogfight into the first corner. And that is one I'm ready for. Race Day 2016. He has himself now a 25-point lead heading into today's race, heading in to the final, to the first couple laps here of the Mexican Grand Prix. Dusty Lusky might have himself at a disadvantage. However, again, anything could happen. Mercedes down by 99 points, now 98 because of T-Brum's pole position. And we'll have to see if himself and Adel Tonian can do the unthinkable here, whilst Aston Martin did not have themselves a good day, starting in P8 and P15. This one is going to be amazing. Goodness gracious. This is incredible, man. I tell you what. As the drivers lining up on the grid here. Goodness gracious, I'm giddy like a child at this point, to be completely honest. That is a very interesting camera angle to give here, but I think the lights are turning on as Super disqualified from the session from reversing on the starting line. What the hell has he done there? As I believe it is lights out and away we go for the season finale, and it's a big jumble off the line. It looks like there's already a crash at the back. Dusty Lusky has made it all the way up to second already. Race Day was not able to capitalize off the start, and it's already a virtual safety car, as I believe that is Ferrari of Hightower 1984 and Super were unable to get across the line, and that pretty much negated any battle into turn one that we had. However, Dusty Lusky is up 2 off the start. Race Day down the 1 spot. He wasn't able to get away cleanly, and both himself and his teammate of CPI Optic moved down 1. Adel Tonian up to 5th. Lightwork to 10th. Nikki 64 to 12th. Goodness gracious, that, I gotta say, absolutely ridiculous stuff here. Dusty Lusky, however, now finds himself perhaps in position to get himself perhaps in the win column here. Already, though, you can see CPI T-Brum trying to make up a little bit of a gap under the virtual safety car. He knows that the grid, for the most part, whoa, what, hold me, my goodness, he almost, did he just leave the track there temporarily? Well, as he knows, the grid decently neutralized here under the virtual safety car, but still, advantages and disadvantages can be made whilst under it. Back to green flag here. Race Day 2016 has fallen off horrendously, and now it looks like Dusty Lusky, down to the inside, has the move on the Mercedes of CPI T-Brum, sets the fastest lap. That doesn't really mean anything, to be completely honest, but Dusty Lusky in the lead of the Grand Prix, while Race Day 2016 sits 4th. And I tell you what, he's got a lot of work to do as well. However, CPI T-Brum, does he look down to the bottom, into the first corner? Oh, I think he had perhaps a little bit of a look, but chose not to follow through. That would have been disastrous if he did. And exiting now the 3rd corner. It is Dusty Lusky in the lead. CPI T-Brum right there in second. Can he find his way down to the inside? He's definitely going to look for it. They do make a little bit of contact, perhaps on the wheels, but nothing to throw either driver off course. Back down to the inside of CPI T-Brum into turn number 5, I believe this is, and Dusty Lusky does get away a little bit better, I'll say that, as they head now into the rest of Sector 2, and CPI T-Brum a little bit slow there, as you can see, getting back onto the throttle, really under pressure now from the AlphaTauri of CPI Optic. Does he have anything? As CPI Optic, that was a big wiggle for him, and somehow he was able to save the car, but his teammate of Race Day in hot pursuit, and he's going to look down to the inside, but the teammate, CPI Optic, not willing to let Race Day have any room, and willing to let Race Day have the spot. And look at that, that's a big wiggle there for CPI T-Brum. He's falling out even more, and CPI Optic tries to go around the outside, and the camera angle's quite poor. Race Day manages to get underneath his teammate there. CPI T-Brum is going to be losing a couple of spots here as they now head down the very long front straight. Both the AlphaTauris in slipstream here. CPI T-Brum now falling back without the aid of the slipstream, without the aid of a teammate as well. And speaking of his teammate, he's now next to him as CPI T-Brum 4th, Adaltonian 5th. I will say, it's not been a bad start. NFS Lightwork already into the pits. What has happened for the Aston Martin driver? As CPI Optic there forced his teammate of Race Day 2016 out of the way, and himself got overtaken by T-Brum in the process. Absolute calamity here within the top 4 off the start. NFS Lightwork, P15. That's where he started. He's not going to lose any positions as the 2 drivers behind him. Whatever happened with that happens. CPI Optic, well, that was a big wiggle for him, I think. It gets back on the throttle nicely, and he then picks up, that's Capital 58, picking up 3 seconds of time penalty. DRS activated as well. We do have CPI T-Brum, who's going to be looking to get around the AlphaTauri of Race Day 2016. Now, it's quite obvious that CPI T-Brum not really involved in this championship fight. He's just the reserve that Mercedes brought up to replace Easy Rider Yoe, but he's done a hell of a job today already. Let's see if he can capitalize as Dusty Lusky, the fastest lap, and then Race Day takes it right back from him. Looking a little further back, Shariah Coleslaw's within a couple of tenths of Helgeland ahead, but I don't think it's going to be enough to make an overtake happen, although we will go along and look. Let's see, does Shariah Coleslaw have anything for the Alfa Romeo ahead? He may look around the left side. That he does, and he makes the overtake happen. That was quite nice there. VTEC, can he find the inside of Capital 58? He doesn't. Capital a little bit late on the brakes, forces Soy Loco wide of the apex just ever so slightly, but it is a solid 3-car battle here for the 8th spot. And it looks like NFS Lightwork into the pits again. What has happened with NFS Lightwork? They are putting on a new front wing for the Aston Martin. This could very well be what Shariah Coleslaw needed to get into Division 1 next season. Remember, he is hot on the heels of the promotion fight as Sui and Nikki 64 bang wheels there. Sui getting around him, but not without the fair share of swapping paint then. Goodness gracious, so much is happening. It's so hard to keep up with. T-Brum is down to 3rd now. Man, oh man, and as they exit the stadium section, it looks as if Race Day trying his best to find his way around Dusty Lusky. Mind you, it's only a 3-point gap between the top 2 spots. So Dusty Lusky will need to find a lot more, or perhaps have Race Day make some sort of critical error as they now head into turn number 1. Race Day is going to go down the inside. Does he have the overtake? Does he have it cleanly? And it looks like, although he has it for now, Dusty Lusky's still there, and it looks even as if Race Day is going to get DRS for being behind at the activation point, and Dusty Lusky will not. And that puts Race Day into a much better spot, knowing that Dusty Lusky doesn't necessarily have the DRS behind, at least for now. It looks like Helgeland getting around Adaltonian there. We had a temporary yellow flag. It looks like Sui right alongside VTEC in the Red Bull for now. It looks as if they'll have to do a lot more to actually make the overtake happen, but he is in there and he's in for the fight. Adaltonian at the moment, currently P7. He did make up a couple spots. He's now lost them as well. Shariah Coleslaw, P6. Oh, no, P5, rather. Wow, this is just absolutely incredible stuff here. It looks like now Dusty Lusky not really able to keep up with the AlphaTauri ahead. The CPI Optic setting the fastest lap. That's in the AlphaTauri, currently sitting in third. Nicky 64 currently P11. Not what he needs whatsoever. So at this moment in time, Soraya Coleslaw down by 9 points to NFS Lightwork. Soraya can make up 9 points by getting himself into second place, or by having NFS Lightwork DNF. I don't think NFS Lightwork is going to give up that easy unless he crashes himself. He's about to be a back marker. Well, in fact, he is one. He's about to be even more of one once the leaders come around in just a little bit. But Soraya Coleslaw has the work to do. NFS Lightwork at least has to finish the Grand Prix. That is really all it takes for NFS Lightwork right now. He has to finish the Grand Prix, make sure Soraya doesn't finish second. And we have a yellow flag towards the back. It looks as if that is Soy Loco. Has taken a bit of a spin there. His front wing has gone missing in the process. We might get a virtual safety car, although it is quite well off the racing line. We've seen safety cars for much less than that, I will say. 0.5 of a second between CPI Optic and Dusty Lusky for second place. The CPI play the good teammate role here and perhaps try to defend Dusty Lusky. Does he play the good old Sergio Perez, the Mexican Minister of Defense? Well, they're in Mexico. How much of a defense will CPI Optic put up should he get around Dusty Lusky? Which a moment ago looked quite potentially to happen, but it's not really panned out that way. Nicky 64 round the inside of Sui here. Wheel to wheel they have been for quite a good number of laps now, and finally Nicky 64 able to get around the Williams of Sui. Adol Tonian, he's looking to pressure Helgelin here. Adol Tonian had himself a good start to the race. He's since fallen off a little bit, so we'll have to see if he can gain any more positions. Again, not the best day for the Aston Martin team. A pretty decent day so far for Mercedes. And here is CPI Optic once again trying to make something happen on Dusty Lusky. Here goes Optic. He's going to have DRS. Dusty Lusky does not have it to race day. And there goes the AlphaTauri round the inside. Will he be able to keep the position before they head into turn one? Yes, he will. And now, at this moment in time, it is an AlphaTauri 1 and 2. And Dusty Lusky, I gotta be honest, really looks to be hurting here. Are the mediums wearing off quickly? Are the hards that much faster? Or perhaps is Dusty struggling with the track, struggling with the setup? You know, during qualifying, he had 4 laps deleted because of track limits. And I believe now he's just trying to tiptoe his way into perhaps a miracle, and it's going to take some doing to make happen. And this really, as we see the two Williams side by side there, Houdini getting around his teammate of Swede, this is where the best is brought out in drivers. It really is. Under the dire circumstances, when you have to be clutch, when you have to perform, this is where you see the real drivers come out to play. As Race Day 2016 has met the, he's met the opposition head on. He's gone against Dusty Lusky, and for right now, he's won as we enter the 9th lap of the Grand Prix. And it looks as if that gap between himself and his teammate behind, well, I tell you what, it's actually getting a bit smaller as Race Day's run out of battery. And Optic now, well, he's about to run out as well. Soraya Coleslaw, who remember started on the soft tires, is now into the pits. He puts on the hards. He will be dropping back quite far unless he can get out of the pits and get up to speed in time. He will be falling behind NFS Gabagai in 13th. So that is where Soraya will end up, P13 on track. And I tell you what, he might be out. The undercut may work. It's gonna be really hard to tell. That, I gotta say, starting on the softs may have worked in the beginning of the race, but he didn't pull himself away enough to get the advantage over the other drivers, and especially NFS Lightwork. 0.6 of a second separate the two AlphaTauri teammates. First place, second place, Dusty Lusky behind in third, and I have to say, falling away as well. Now outside of 1.2 seconds, and he has the Mercedes of T-Brum in second. Wow. So as we see, does T-Brum have anything here for Dusty Lusky? He'll be within the slipstream, he'll have DRS, whereas Dusty Lusky does not have it to Optic in second. T-Brum, does he have it down the inside? Yes, he does. I'm not sure he'll have it comfortably, but he will definitely have it, and you can see Dusty Lusky behind. I'd say he's got to be quite frustrated now, as it looks like Nicky64 on his way into the pits picks up 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane. Goodness gracious, that's not what he needed. Puts on the hard tires and now adds 5 second a penalty to his name. Granted, I don't think he'll be losing any positions behind to Soy Loco, but that is an absolutely detrimental penalty there for Nicky64. 0.7 of a second between the two AlphaTauris ahead. I'm going to quickly do some math. I hate doing math, I'm not very good at it, but we'll have to see what happens. Soy Loco 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. So ladies and gentlemen, at this moment in time, we are looking at 15.23 for Aston, 14.85 for Mercedes. That is a total of 38 points in between the two teams. It was 98 at the beginning of the weekend. As it looks like now we have the Williams side by side there. Goodness gracious, and I tell you what, Nicky64 has himself a lot of work to do. They're in a pretty comfortable spot at the moment. You have to remember that really, it is the top couple of spots that are the highest paying positions here. Mercedes need to somehow work up an extra 38 points to at least tie. I tell you what, that's not going to come easy. Mind you, CPI T-Brum has, I believe that is a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, so he will at least be losing the position to Dusty Lusky. But I have to say, I'm quite interested to see if that overtake for a position happens on track or on the penalty, because mind you, Dusty Lusky is not exactly keeping up with that Mercedes ahead. So we have the two AlphaTauris, race day 2016, CPI Optic, we have a yellow flag, and that is the Haas. Actually, I believe that is, yeah, it's NFS Gaba guy, who's about become stuck underneath the stadium section. It looks like around the right side goes Capital 58 on Sui, separating the two Williams drivers, separating the two Williams drivers now. He does have the penalty, but I guarantee you he'll still be trying. Sui, can he find a way to get down to the inside? Capital 58 is going to block off the move. Whether it was legal or not, I'm not quite sure. And Sui actually runs into the rear right tire of Capital 58. I don't think he's actually lost any of his front wing. No, it doesn't look like he has. But still, that could have gone a lot worse there. We still have 0.4 of a second between the top two. And mind you, both on very minimal amounts of battery. Well, 0% to be exact. And T-Brum now, I gotta say, as we have the two AlphaTauris battling into the first corner. CPI Optic wants the win of the Grand Prix, for God's sakes. I tell you what, race day I'm not sure is going to be too happy about that one. He's got race day's got himself a championship to win here. Oh man, that's, well, that's interesting, that one. we'll go ahead and assume that with the penalty at this moment in time. So we're looking at currently race day 2016, should the results hold, and should Dusty get around T-Brum with the penalty. We're looking at race day with an even 1,000, Dusty Lusky 972. Dusty Lusky has a lot of work to do. I think for his sake, he's hoping, has he played the strategy game correctly? Does race day perhaps have the unthinkable happen and pick up a penalty somewhere or going into the pits on track? Certainly it's a possibility, but still Dusty Lusky now outside of a second and a half to CPI T-Brum ahead. And that, I gotta say, is not where Dusty Lusky wants to be. Remember, he was about 5 kilometers slower than the drivers around him, particularly that Mercedes of Adaltonian. As Shariah Coleslaw, who has taken his stop already, moves up now. I believe he's actually battling there with Sui, and that's going through the stadium, and Sui's actually managed to get around Shariah Coleslaw there. That looked a brilliant battle. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see it. And speaking of brilliant battles, mind you, we still have 0.4 of a second between the two leaders. T-Brum has worked his way into this as well, and I think with the two AlphaTauris fighting for the lead, that has only helped CPI T-Brum, who now has 2.5 seconds nearly over Dusty Lusky. Interesting this, and mind you, CPI T-Brum's on the hard tires as well. And you got to think even more on that. The medium tires, will be seeing them come in for their pit stop in about 3 laps time. Unless, perhaps, does anybody try the undercut here. CPI T-Brum, he'll be fine for another 10 laps, even further. He doesn't have anything to worry about right now. All he has to worry about is keeping himself in the hunt. Race day 2016 down the inside of his teammate, a CPI Optic. I'm really hoping that we don't have some sort of recreation of that one moment in Breaking Point, the little story mode in the last game. Remember that? Oh, look at this CPI T-Brum threading the needle between the two AlphaTauris, and he's gonna slingshot himself up to the lead. That was an unbelievably ballsy maneuver there, as Capital 58 has gone around on the start-finish straight there. But thankfully, and I tell you what, that is some front wing that's been left behind back there. Race day, and CPI, oh my God, they've gotten together, the two AlphaTauris. CPI Optics gone off track. Goodness gracious. By God almighty, we almost had an absolute Armageddon take place on this Italian AlphaTauri team. The CPI Optic, as one of them got wing damage, he hit the side pod of the one car actually quite significantly. I'd be surprised if he doesn't pick up wing damage. Race day 2016, on his way in, we'll call this about a lap early. Dusty Lusky follows suit. Race day 2016, this is what I'm interested in here. Does he have to replace the front wing? It doesn't look like he does. No, he won't. Dusty Lusky gets out as well. Hard tires on for the both of them. I'm sorry? Is that Dusty on... Wait. Sorry, perhaps with the lighting, it made me believe he was on mediums. However, as Adaltonian now, trying to find his way past Dusty Lusky on the left side. Does he have it? No, it doesn't look like he has. So CPI Optics stayed out. Bit of a wiggle there. He's got himself a 1.5 seconds back to CPI T-Brum in the lead. The two Haas's exchanging position there as Capital 58 finds his way in. Nicky 64, mind you, has 5 seconds of time penalty. That'll be coming his way at the end of the race or when he takes his next stop. Adaltonian here. Does he perhaps have anything for Dusty Lusky? Now, I think he probably would have. But I think at this point, Dusty Lusky's tires are probably up to temperature. I think that window for Adaltonian to make an overtake is probably gone at this point. CPI T-Brum regains the lead of the Grand Prix. Remember, he started on pole. We have 6 seconds of penalty for both Capital 58 and Soy Loco. Aston Martin and Nicky 64 on 5 seconds of penalty. At this point, he will not lose spots. We do have about 0.6 of a second between Shariah and Houdini. Can we look and see? Our positions gain here, so the top 4 has stayed the same, albeit with a lot in between. I'll say stayed the same. It's not exactly true. As we see now, Shariah Coleslaw up the inside of Houdini heading into the first corner. Does he have anything? Yes, he does, and I think he's going to have that one quite handedly as well. VTEC up 7, Shariah down 3. Houdini up 5. Lightworks actually up 3 himself. Nicky's down 3. Soy Loco down 6. Obviously, Super and Hightower did not manage to get off the line. VTEC doing his best to stay to the back of Adaltonian ahead. Mind you, we're about halfway through this Grand Prix now. Looks like Capital 58 battling it out there with Sui. This being for the 13th spot. Sui still on the left-hand side. We have a yellow flag ahead, and it's NFS Gabagai. Goodness, my heart about skipped a beat there when I saw Lightwork had gone off track. As Gabagai spins, regains his composure, it doesn't actually lose any wing as well. VTEC on his way in now. Seems to be a good stop there for the Red Bull. It looks like we have Shariah Coleslaw, that bumps him up to P7. The field slightly spread out now, I'll say that. 0.3 of a second from Capital 58 back to Sui. This is currently the closest battle on track. Everyone else about 2 seconds separated from each other. Mind you, I believe that is the leader of CPI T-Brum behind. Who's going to be looking to get these back markers out of the way and fast. We do still have pit stops to come, mind you. We did have the drivers start on the hard tires, that being T-Brum, Optic, Adaltonian, Helgeland, Houdini, Gabagai. As it looks, Capital 58 will be able to get up the inside of Sui heading into the first corner, and I think he'll be able to keep this one as well, at least for now. He'll have DRS as well, because you have the detection point, as Race Day 2016 actually picking up the fastest lap there. Quite crucial for him. But you do have the detection point at the end, about 200 meters before going into the first corner for the DRS that's out of turn at number 3, as Capital 58 was able to keep it. And now has about 0.5 of a second. It looks like Houdini on his way in. The nice little 3-car go about here. Mind you, not Soy Loco, we have, that is our leader of CPI T-Brum, who at this moment in time is now going to have to navigate the Haas of Capital 58 as well. Now, Sui was I think, kind of did the right thing, backed off, and said, let me get out of the way for the leader. I don't want to be smacked with a 5-second time penalty. That would only add to... I don't want to say add to the embarrassment, but he is currently 14th, isn't he? As now Capital 58, he stayed out of the way. Now this is interesting here. Does Capital 58 lose the position to Sui? And he does! Wow, and now VTEC and Shariah Coleslaw, I believe, has Shariah Coleslaw just had an off? Because we saw they were side by side momentarily, and Shariah was actually quite off going through sector... going into Sector 2 there. Adaltonian into the pits now. CPI Optic has just made his way in, and now he's side by side with Dusty Lusky for position here. Wheel-to-wheel contact. NFS Lightwork just picked up 3 seconds of penalty. I believe that puts him up to 6. Am I right? Yeah, 6 seconds of penalty. No, that is only 3 seconds of penalty for Lightwork. And now, oh, and what is this? Optic getting into Dusty Lusky going into, what is this turn? I don't even care what it is. Absolute contact being made there between the AlphaTauri of CPI Optic and Dusty Lusky in the McLaren. and that is severely hindered Dusty Lusky, as Race Day now picks up 3 seconds of time penalty. As CPI T-Brum on his way into the pits. Does he lose position to Race Day as Optic down to the inside of Dusty Lusky? Oh, that's big contact, and he pushes Dusty wide! Goodness gracious. I can only imagine the steward reports that'll be coming after this race. Dusty Lusky has been absolutely battered out of the way. And does CPI Optic Race Day get around T-Brum here? Yes, he does. Both of them sitting on 3-second penalties. It won't matter who's doing what. It will be a pure battle for position now between Race Day 2016 and CPI T-Brum. And mind you, it doesn't look like at the moment they'll be losing position to Optic, who Optic's got 5 seconds back to T-Brum. And T-Brum's got 1.5 seconds back to Race Day. So you do the math on that one, it'll tell you that that position isn't going to be lost because of the penalty. I believe Capital 58 has gotten around Sui once again. These two have been battling for quite some time. Absolutely nothing to lose between these two drivers, everything to gain, and that's absolutely what they're going for. Sui a bit late on the brakes, looking to get back at the Haas of Capital 58. Capital was actually a little bit slow getting back on the throttle. Perhaps a wiggle, I think I saw. Into turns 16 and 17. I believe everybody has pit now, except for Helgelin and Gabagai. Once again, this is the closest battle on track. Mind you, we do have the leaders kind of entering a... well, I wouldn't say going into back markers. They look quite close together, but looks can be deceiving. A CPI Optic fastest lap, 1:18.319. He's got, that is the Alpine down to the inside. As Sui and Capital 58 battling it again, heading through in towards Sector 2. It's a beautiful battle. Helgelin into the pits now. Capital 58 able to get around Sui, albeit temporarily. None of the moves that these drivers have been able to make over each other have been permanent. And it really looks as if DRS has been of the aid between those two, but now we might have ourselves a battle for the lead. Only 1 second or less separating Race Day and CPI T-Brum, who CPI T-Brum a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, and that will drop him down now below Dusty Lusky. I'd say below Dusty Lusky, as he's... well, has Optic just picked up 3 seconds? Yes, he has. So 3 seconds there for CPI Optic. So I believe now T-Brum will stay. Will he stay in the second? Yes, because he's got 3 seconds over Optic, so yeah. So T-Brum will be staying second at this point. Shariah Coleslaw right there battling it with Helgelin. The two Aston Martins swapping around now, and it looks like Nicky64 has actually let his teammate of Lightwork get the position there. It looks like, does T-Brum have anything for Race Day? Albeit this isn't really going to be up for grabs. 0.3 of a second. CPI T-Brum's going to look down to the inside. Race Day doesn't really need to worry. He's low on battery. That's a big lockup for T-Brum going into the corner. They've got the back marker of, I want to say that's Gabagai ahead. Yellow flag, and I believe that is the Haas just getting out of the way. Race Day has been overtaken for the lead of the Grand Prix, as we have yet another yellow flag. Oh, I tell you what, that wasn't very good at all. He's gotten back on track. And I believe he's actually really hindered Dusty Lusky there. Because we had the yellow flag and he was suddenly right alongside Dusty Lusky. Now, he was at the point at which you'd be looking to accelerate out of the corner. Was he in the way at that point? Shariah Coleslaw, once again, 0.7 of a second between himself and Helgelin for the 7th spot. CPI T-Brum, 1:18.315, fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Capital 58, 9 seconds of penalty and still doing everything he can to battle with Sui here for what is going to be P13 anyways. But I tell you what, it has been quite fun to watch these two. Meanwhile, Shariah Coleslaw, it looks like might be slipping away from Helgelin here. Mind you, Helgeland fresh medium tires. We have a yellow flag. Oh my God! Lightwork has DNF'd! By God Almighty, that has absolutely changed the entire landscape of the Grand Prix. It's a safety car. What the hell has happened with NFS Lightwork, who has found a retirement going through the stadium? I can't. This is unbelievable. Lightwork now, that may have reopened the door for Mercedes. It's completely opened the door for Shariah Coleslaw, which only needs to finish, I think, 12th now. Safety car. Who comes in? Who stays out? Is that going to be a potential question here? CPI T-Brum, does he come in? He stays out. Race Day stays out. I think Optic will stay out, but this is huge because, mind you, Race Day's got 3 seconds of penalty. Dusty Lusky does not. Dusty's going to stay out, and I tell you what, he's going to be at some advantage now. Good God Almighty. Absolute chaos unfolding here just when the race, just when we thought, as I've kicked my microphone down, just as we thought the race was starting to get a little, I'd say pedestrian is the right word. It's been completely flipped on its head. Race Day 2016 is now entirely vulnerable to the rest of the grid, not to mention T-Brum and Optic, but because Race Day has the penalty, Dusty Lusky might have himself a dying light at the championship here. Holy hell. Oh my God, you can't make this up, guys. You just can't. You can't script something like this. Unless you're, of course, Michael Massey. But not the point. Adaltonian finds himself in 6th. Now, mind you, that will make sure that... And Nikki 64 is in 9th at the moment. Oh my God. I'm gonna step aside for a moment just so I can do maths. Ladies and gentlemen, the safety car is in this lap. This is how it stands. We have Mercedes down by 10 on Aston Martin. 10 points. That's all it is. 15.05, 14.95. We also have Shariah Coleslaw currently being promoted to Division 1 should the result hold. He's up currently 723 to Lightwork's 709. Mind you, Lightwork won't be scoring any points. He's out of the Grand Prix. Race Day 2016 finds himself in such a huge dilemma now. He has to get away from the grid with 9 laps of racing, because should he not, and look at the defending CPI T-Brum is having to do here. Soy Loco, 10-second penalty, exceeding track limits. Race Day 2016 is going to try to find his way around the left-hand side of CPI T-Brum, and it does happen. T-Brum, however, doing his best to strike back, looking back down to the inside, not having DRS. It's side by side for the lead of the Grand Prix. Goodness gracious, look at the battling happening here. And mind you, both of these drivers on penalties that, I mean, they could... Oh, and look at this. That's big contact there. Oh, my God. What the hell? The contact by CPI T-Brum nearly. That sends Race Day down to 3rd. CPI Optic has taken the lead of the Grand Prix. CPI T-Brum got onto the tire of Race Day 2016, didn't let go. And now Race Day could be getting relegated all the way back to the second half of the grid, down past P7. He's got 3 seconds of penalty. He's got about a second back to Dusty Lusky. How much will this play in? Adaltonian getting past VTech here, only temporarily. They're side by side. Mind you, Nikki 64, the other Aston Martin, came in for fresh medium tires. We have a yellow flag off at the back. It looks as if, well, who is that? Nikki 64 has fallen off here. He's got, well, the next one up behind him is Sweet. Capital 58, 5-second penalty for ignoring the blue flag. Adaltonian down to the inside on VTech. Wasn't able to make the move happen. He stays in P6. However, I will say Race Day now has amassed almost a 2-second gap back to that of Dusty Lusky in 4th place. Mind you, once he gets above 3 seconds, his penalty's not going to matter. And he will stay amongst the podium. Dusty Lusky, he looks to be absolutely struggling around those corners just then. I've barely found myself time to breathe, never mind comprehend what is unfolding before us. 0.3 of a second between Shariah Coleslaw and Helgeland for the 7th spot. Adel Tonian having to defend like a lion for his 6th. 2.5 seconds between Dusty and Race Day. It's an unbelievable turn of events here. CPI Optic somehow took the lead whilst T-Brum was getting into Race Day. And thankfully, Race Day was able to hold on to the car and not go around and absolutely get his championship hopes thrown out the window. And Adel Tonian's gone around! And just when you thought Mercedes had a fighting chance at this championship, it all goes to hell with Adel Tonian spinning it out before getting into the pit lane. He didn't actually get into the pit lane. He caught oversteer coming off of turn 16 and 17, albeit it's a common spot to go around. But at this stage of the race, when it's all on the line, you can't be making mistakes like that, and he finds himself down to 9th. Shariah Coleslaw within 0.4 of Helgeland ahead. CPI T-Brum on the 6 seconds of penalties looking to get around Optic, although it won't really matter too much. Optic's on 3 seconds, T-Brum's on 6. Race Day's got about 2.6 seconds back to Dusty Lusky. Of course, Race Day would have to have quite a big fall from grace as Helgeland picks up 3 seconds. We have a Haas off towards the back. It is NFS Gaba guy who's gone off. He spun it around again. Oh my God, he nearly took Nicky 64 with him. 2.5 seconds. Race Day, I mean, he'll need a big fall from grace now, and it's not going to be any further down than P5, so he really will only be losing 2 spots. And I mean, really, that's not going to mean much in the grand scheme of things. As VTEC goes down to the inside. 0.5 of a second between CPI T-Brum and Optic here. Race Day has relatively actually fallen off the lead. You wonder, does he perhaps have damage to the side pod, which is making him slow? Could that be the case as Soy Loco has just retired? There is no way. There is no way. Soy Loco has just retired and it's caused a safety car. That cannot be right. No, I've got to be imagining things here. I've got to be. There's no way. There's just no way. Soy Loco. We have drivers on their way into the pits. We have the Red Bull of VTEC. Houdini's come in. Adel Tonian's come in for softs. Sui, I believe, has he just recently put on softs? Yeah, he has 7 laps ago. Nicky 64 on his way in. We are going to have... I can't actually believe what's happened. Soy Loco. I don't want to say he's retired on track because that... I mean, there's just no way. This could potentially, and I'm not even joking, this could really decide the entire outcome of the championship here. Dusty Lusky, really, and I mean really, it has been slipping out of his grasp for the majority of the race now. The first safety car was enough to give him hope, because at that point, he at least perhaps had the opportunity. Once that had really gotten out of reach, I think it was really all said and done. However, now, and Race Day still has 3 seconds of penalty, there's just no way. I mean, honestly. I don't want to assume anything from Soy Loco. I really don't, because I don't recall having him retire on track. But that was such a sudden DNF, and it was on a straight as well. Oh my god, this is just what the hell, honestly. I'm lost for words at this moment in time. Race day 2016, if his heart didn't drop at the last safety car happening and coming out, think about what he feels now. His chances for the Drivers' Championship, unbelievably, are up for grasp now. Going into the race, mind you, there's a 25-point gap. Dusty Lusky, at this moment in time, might win the race on penalties. And we could see, race day fall down to about 8th or 9th. I think that would do it. The safety car is in this lap. We're gonna get 3 laps of racing to decide the damn championship. Dusty Lusky, and he's picked up 5 seconds for a severe collision with Helgeland. There is no way. How on earth does this sort of thing unfold? Green flag back in the air, and just when you thought Dusty Lusky had his one shining moment perhaps to get back to the championship, to perhaps find his way, make room on the door after the Titanic crashes into the iceberg, somehow keep himself afloat out of the freezing cold water, and he picks up a 5-second penalty under safety car. And race day nearly lost it, and Dusty gets past. And race day actually losing 2 positions there. And now, not to mention, Dusty Lusky currently 4th. Both of these drivers are going to be losing spots. One more than the other. This is just so unbelievable. Race day is actually getting overtaken here by VTEC down to the inside, and that's not what race day needed. Because now that could drop him down the order even further. I have no idea what the final positions are going to come out to. I don't know the math. We'll have to solve all that after the fact. And after the masses of steward reports come out as well, as VTEC gets into Dusty Lusky, and Dusty, no way! He gets turned around going through the stadium. You can't make this up, folks. Dusty Lusky has just been absolutely booted by VTEC with 2 laps to go. You just can't make this sort of thing up. You really can't. Shariah Coleslaw and Adel Tonian going wheel to wheel now. Dusty Lusky now trying his best to fight back against Houdini here. We're going to have a lap and a half to go. So many different outcomes are on the table now. Mind you, I don't even know. Houdini's still trying to get to Dusty Lusky here. As we now enter the final 2 corners, Dusty Lusky dropping back even further. Entering now the final lap of the Grand Prix, DRS enabled. Helgeland has found his way to 3rd, race day down to 5th. He's been shoved out of the way. I think, perhaps, I don't even know. VTEC 87. VTEC could be picking up the win here. He put on the fresh softs under the safety car. He's up 9 spots since the initial start off the grid. This is absolute madness. You just can't make this up. You can't script something like this. Every twist and turn that you could throw at it. Good God. As VTEC looking for it on Helgeland. Now, mind you, he's really gonna have to somehow keep himself, I don't even know, man, honestly. CPI Tabram getting his way into the stadium now. He has 6 seconds of penalties. He'll be dropping down, I'd say, to about 4th at this point. I could be wrong, naturally. So CPI T-Brum coming out of turns 16 and 17 as held. CPI T-Brum first across the line. Optic for now has the win. VTech at the line. He takes second. CPI T-Brum third. Adel Tony in fourth. Race Day fifth. Race Day claims himself the Drivers' Championship. We know that much. Race Day 2016 champion of the Midwest for the Drivers' Championship. Shariah will get promotion to Division 1. I cannot believe what I've just seen. VTech picking up Driver of the Day. He'll get the point for that. So, good God, there's just no way. You can't. So at this moment in time, it's CPI Optic taking the win, VTech second, T-Brum third, Adel Tony in fourth, Race Day fifth, Shariah sixth, Nikki 64 seventh, Houdini eighth, Helgelin ninth, Dusty Lusky 10th, 11th Swee, 12th Gabagai, 13th Capital 58. I'm gonna attempt to do some maths here. And I'll get back to you, I'll make a separate recording. Mind you, there's going to be steward reports, absolutely. But I'm going to make a separate recording to announce the champions. Unofficially. Unofficially champions. Good God. What have we just seen? Okay, so after my initial calculations, I promised I would record this. After my initial calculations, now don't kill me, because I'm not the official points tallying person. But, I mean, this is what we have at the moment. Obviously, Race Day 2016, Drivers' Champion. We'll get to you in just a second. We do have Aston Martin has managed to somehow, despite Lightworks DNF, they have outscored Mercedes 1505 to 1494 at the end of it. And I believe Shariah Coleslaw as well with Lightworks DNF. He will be promoted up to Division 1.